Hello. I hope you're doing well and staying warm if you live in a part of the world which gets cold at this time of year. It's been very chilly here in London, and so I've been having lots of cups of tea while staying inside reading. And I have a pile of, well, mostly brand new books. A lot of these books have just been published in January here in the UK. Some of them publishers kindly sent me, and others I bought myself because I thought they sound so interesting. But I also have a few older books that I got new copies of recently for special reading projects, and I'll talk about those at the end. Also to say, this video is very kindly sponsored by Serious Readers, and more about them in a few minutes. But I'd love to know if you have read any of these books, or if you're interested in reading any of these books. Please let me know about that in the comments below. So first off, I have a couple of brand new debut novels, and one I've been hearing a lot about is this novel called River East, River West by Aube Lescure. And this is kind of a novel in two halves, I think, in that it starts in Shanghai in 2007, following a 14-year-old girl whose American mother gets engaged to a Chinese man, and she's looking for a way out of her life. She's like very dissatisfied with this arrangement and where she's living. But there's also a parallel story going back to the 1980s, mid 1980s in China, following the man that her mother is going to marry, and his life and his journey, and how he gets to this point, and whether these two characters can find a common meeting ground of living happily together. So yeah, I've just heard so many good things about this novel, and it sounds like a really intriguing and interesting story about migration and capitalism, of China opening itself up to capitalism, and the history of this family. The next debut is Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon, and this novel takes place in 412 BC in Sicily, when the Athenians who tried to invade the country were defeated, and many of the soldiers are living in poverty now in Sicily. But two potters start befriending some of these Athenians who some of them can recite the plays of Euripides just from memory, and so they want to stage some of these plays. So it's about war and art and the lives of people in this long ago era. And this novel comes with so many endorsements from writers that I've read before and that I really enjoy. Like on the cover, it has Douglas Stewart and Emma Donoghue, but also Sarah Winman and Claire Fuller and John McGregor and Imogen Hermes Gower all give really great praise for this novel. So it sounds really interesting. Next, I have a couple of novels from authors that I've read before and enjoyed their previous work. So I'm curious about these new novels, although I've heard mixed things. So there's The Vulnerables by Sigrid Nunez, and this is about three different characters. One who is a solitary writer, one who is a Gen Z or Gen Z college dropout, and another who is a spirited parrot named Athena, and about how they come together and form a friendship, or a kind of friendship, and try to live together. It's a very curious sounding story. I have read Nunez's story The Friend before, and thought that was a really interesting novel, although it's not stuck in my mind that strongly. But she won the National Book Award for it, and I have heard from one of the members of my book club who really didn't like this novel and had a very strong emotional reaction to it, which kind of makes me even more curious to read it and see for myself what it is like. You know that how that happens with books sometimes. So yeah, kind of interested to try it, but I'm a bit trepidatious about it. Then there is Come and Get It by Kiley, Reid, and this is obviously a proof copy of the book. So this is a campus novel. It's about a senior RA student who is a bit uncertain about her future, who just wants to graduate and get a job and buy her own house. But then a visiting professor comes and makes her an offer for a job which is kind of morally dubious. Yeah, it's following the journey of these characters. But I read Kiley Reid's novel Such a Fun Age and loved that book so much. But from looking online at people's reactions to this novel, it's a very muted response to it, and a number of readers have been quite disappointed by it. But I did love her debut novel so much, so I'm just so intensely curious about what this is like. So I'm going to give it a try, see how I get on with it, and if I enjoy it. But if you've read this book, I'd love to know what you think about it. As I mentioned in the beginning, this video is very kindly sponsored by Serious Readers, a company that creates high-quality indoor reading lights. Sometimes I get asked, what is my favorite reading spot? It is right here in my spare room with a cup of tea and my high-definition table light from Serious Readers. January is such a cold and bleak month that, honestly, I would spend all of my time right here reading if I could. Recently, I've been completely immersed in the novel Northwoods, and it is such a pleasure reading it using this lamp. Its light illuminates the pages of the book brilliantly, and it does this better than any other reading light I've tried. The great thing about Serious lights is that they replicate the daylight spectrum as close as technically possible with what they call daylight wavelength technology, so the light feels warm and natural. I'll put a link to the Serious Readers website in the description below so you can check them out, and if you decide to buy one, I have a special offer for you. Be sure to enter the offer code SR456 when checking out, as this will save you £100 on a high definition light and give you free delivery. So if you're looking for an excellent new reading light this year, I'd highly recommend Serious Readers. And now, back to the books. The House of Bricks by Fiona Williams, and this follows the story of a family revolving between their perspectives and how there was a big tragedy in the life of this family, and it's about their process of recovery, trying to deal with loss, and but also maintaining the love that exists between them. And I do like a story of a family where you get the perspectives of all the different family members. I immediately think of The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, and so I'm interested to see how this plays out. Also, it comes with an endorsement by Ingrid Persaud, whose novel Love After Love I absolutely adored, and actually she has a new novel coming out this year, but she says it's brave in its deep truths about loss and love. Next, I have a couple of unique sounding novels that are about young women who are having a really tough time establishing their lives. So first off, there's The History of My Sexuality by Tobi Lakmaker, and this is about a young woman named Sophie and her various professional and personal relationships and struggles that she has with her family, and trying to establish herself in adulthood and find her way in the world. The tagline of this novel says, she's proficient in literature and philosophy. She's trying her hand at Russian, but in love and sex, she has a lot to learn. Blood Red by Gabriela, Ponce. This is a novel about a young woman whose marriage has failed, and she just wants to go out and live life to the fullest. She engages in a number of affairs. She parties a lot with her friends. She does a lot of drugs, and she has an odd obsession with holes and also with blood and blood's connection with memories in the past. And it sounds like a really dark and intriguing novel. And also there's this description from Book Culture who says it's a raw stream of consciousness novel that feels like putting Virginia Woolf and Ottessa Moshfegh in a blender. And don't you love that description? And also, I love this cover as well. very disturbing and dark. And I also have a brand new non-fiction book of science, which sounds so intriguing, called How Life Works by Philip Ball. And this is a new way of looking at biology. So I learned, like I think a lot of people did when studying science at school, that we have genes which kind of map out how an organism grows and is created. And but this is a new form of biology of looking at how cells and organisms work as this complex living thing. And I don't know all that much about science, but I do have an interest in it, and I think this gives a good like overview in layman's terms of this new understanding and development in biology, which has occurred since a lot of us, and definitely me, was in school learning about these things. So it's quite a long book, but sounds so intriguing. And finally, I have new copies of a few older books that I've got for special projects. So first I got a couple of books for this article I'm writing for the Booker Prize website. So there's the novel Lies of Silence by Brian Moore, which was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in the 1990s. And this novel is set in Belfast, and it follows a man who's a hotel manager, and he's contemplating leaving his wife because he's been having a long-term affair with another woman that he wants to move in with and start a life with. But the IRA tasks him and blackmails him into performing a very dangerous action. And so we follow the drama of that, but also all of the drama that's going on in his personal life. And I've never read this book before, and I've never read anything by Brian Moore before, but he actually published quite a lot in his lifetime. He died in 1999, and he was listed for the Booker Prize 3 times in the past. So you can see these are some other books by him. So published quite a lot, and I've started this, and I'm really intrigued by it so far. And I also just got a copy of Waterland by Graham Swift, which I read a long time ago, but I want to refamiliarize myself with it and reread certain parts of it. Although I started rereading it, and it's so compelling and compulsive that I might just go and reread the entire thing again. So it's set in the Fens, and is a kind of dual timeline between the 1940s, when a boy's body is found in the loch, and there's a whole mystery behind that. And then nearly 40 years later, there's a teacher of history who's recalling this period, who was a boy when this body was discovered. But it's also looking at stories and the past and our understanding of history, and the value of history is separate from fiction. It's so compelling how Graham Swift writes. And finally, I got a Penguin Classics edition of A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. If you watched my video about classics I want to read this year, you'll know this is the 100th anniversary of this novel. It was first published in 1924, and my online book club and I have decided we will be reading this for our February book club choice. So if you want to join in our reading or rereading, if you've read it before, of this novel in sort of celebration of its 100th anniversary, then I'll put details for my online book club below so you can find out more information about it. But I wanted to get this edition of the novel because it comes with a number of supplementary readings about the book, some essays about the book, and some writing by Forster himself reflecting upon it and talking about the book. And so I did read this a long time ago, but I'm really looking forward to revisiting this book and the story of what happened to Miss Quested in the caverns, and this story of a struggle for Indian independence and the end of British colonialism in India. So really looking forward to reading with the book club and discussing it. So those are all of the new books that I got in January. Like I said, I'd love to know if you have read any of these books, or if you're interested in reading any of them, or any other new books that you got this month that you're looking forward to reading. Please let me know about that. But hope you're doing well and reading good things, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.